There are people who say that Diddy's going to walk or what have you not before I just read. I don't think so. This is from USA Today from last week. And this is an indication right there, you know, Diddy is cooked. He is just plain old cooked. Says here that Diddy trial replay. Former aide George Kaplan says Diddy threatened his job. Yeah. Now, if I'm heard correctly, George Kaplan is one of Diddy's closest, most trusted assistants. Let me see here. A handful, okay, this was says right here. A federal agent, a psychologist, and a former top aide. So I'm going to try to get to the federal agent and the psychologist. But this is the one with former top aide from P. Diddy's camp. A handful of witnesses took the stand in Sean Diddy Combs' sweeping federal sex crimes on May 21st, which was last week. Gerald Gannon, a Homeland Security Investigation Special Agent, was up first, describing a massive raid on Combs' Miami mansion last year where he found illegal drugs, weapons, and more. That I remember covering. That's when it was raided, not just in Florida, as well as California. So they did simultaneous raids. And like I said before, when Homeland Security raids your residence, especially multiple residences, yeah, you have a serious problem. That means the feds are after you. Like another difference between OJ and and P Diddy, and that's why I say I think Diddy's gonna be bigger because with the cops, with OJ it's strictly cops and all that, you know. But with Diddy, it was the feds. That means my feeling like people say like, well, millions and millions of people watch because of OJ and all, but I think because of social media and all that, I think it might be either A, as high as OJ's, or rival. Some people say, it won't be as big as OJ's. Are you sure about that? It's getting a lot of eyes, a lot of attention right now as we speak, thanks to social media. Goes on to say, okay, first goes to psychologist Dawn Hughes. Took the next stand and explained the complexities of physical, sexual, and psychological abuse, factors at the center of the allegations against Combs. George Kaplan, a former executive assistant to Combs, also told jurors the rappers repeatedly threatened his job. Now, I imagine that money must have paid he must have paid a lot of money, and they take that money away from him. Scott Muscudi, better known as Kid Cudi, also will take the stand in the coming days. Diddy allegedly threatened the musician after he had Combs' former girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, dated briefly over a decade ago. So if I've spoken already, Kid Cudi already testified against Diddy, and Diddy pretty much threatened him, and supposedly his car got bombed. Some say by Molotov cocktail or something like that, but Diddy say it wasn't me, prove it. But the fact is like that, God Diddy's desire. But I think with the former assistant, yeah, I think that's been one of the nails in the coffin. Goes on to say, Combs' alleged abuse of Ventura Fine, that means she's been married to Alex Fine, has played a major role in the embattled hip-hop mogul's trial. Regina Ventura, Cassie's mother, told the court on May 25th she was physically sick over the rapper's actions, and she was once pressured to send him $20,000 after he raged at her daughter. Wow, she had to send money to him. Why should I just send money to him? Are you serious? Combs, 55, was arrested on September 2024 and charged with sex trafficking, racketeering, and transportation to engage in prostitution. He pleaded not guilty. Surprise. Now, here's the fun part you've been waiting for. Who is George Kaplan? Diddy's former executive assistant, details working for rap mogul. Here we go, folks. Get yourself ready. It might be a bit of a long read, but it'd be worth it. Trust me. I'll try and hang in there as long as I can, too. George Kaplan worked as an executive assistant for Combs' holding company, Combs Enterprise, which houses the rapper's various business ventures. While taking the stand on May 21st, Kaplan detailed the tasks and responsibilities that comprise his intimate role. So basically, he's one of the people in Diddy's close circles, which means he's seen some stuff, heard some stuff, and unfortunately was involved in some stuff. So this one things get interesting. Kaplan, 34, said he carried Combs' bags, ensured they had the necessary items, including clothing, medicine, computers, iPad, sometimes food. The former assistant who worked for Combs from 2014 to 2015 testified he began spending late nights with Combs as he worked on a mixtape, which involves more time in the studio setting up Combs' hotel rooms. Kaplan said he worked 80 to 100 hours per week and that his starting salary was $125,000 for the first 12 months. That's a lot of money. But you work at those hours, 100 to 800 hours, yeah, I can't be too surprised. So the guy's making six figures right off the rip. Kaplan said he increasingly earned Combs' trust during their time working together and met many of his staffers, including Combs' right hand and former chief of staff, Christina K.K. Quorum. Yeah, the third K, no. When shown a photo of Quorum in court, Kaplan said Quorum essentially ran Mr. Combs' life. Yeah, basically she, was the person who made sure his life was okay. So how long before she gets on the stand? If she's made a test, like I said, I'm not sure. I don't remember if she was on the stand yet or not, but I gotta check this out. Combs' former assistant rapper threatened his job monthly. That's not where to live. Kaplan testified that the rapper threatened his job maybe monthly. Combs' tone during the alleged threats was sometimes angry, sometimes motivational. Kaplan said he began to ask Kaplan to obtain a gallon of water for Combs. But when the store did not have any, he brought Combs 2.5 gallons. Combs was upset and got in Kaplan's face, telling him as much. To half the gallon, okay. Half the gallon, 1 gallon. I'm not going to ask. He was always surrounded by the best. Basically, he sounds spoiled and super entitled. Ego. Psychologist testifies on abusive relationships. Okay, here we go. For this is Hughes, I think. What's his name? What? Hughes? Yeah, Dawn Hughes, the psychologist. Her name was Dawn Hughes. I gotta remember that. Okay, psychologist testifies on abusive relationships. So basically, people basically like, well, she should have left. She said she should have left. She should have left. And I'm not gonna lie, I say she should have left. But the deep level of control that Diddy had over this girl is downright terrifying. It's cult-like. I mean, you expect it from cult leaders, but then again, this is Diddy, and I begin to want to hear that same effect on not just Cassie, but many other women. Dawn Hughes took the stand on May 21st, called by prosecutors to explain the wide-reaching impacts of physical, sexual, and emotional abuse in the sex crimes trial. Hughes had told jurors it's very common for victims to stay in abusive relationships. Sad but true. I can't argue with that. Hughes explained that people need tangible resources to leave. Unhealthy relationships. She also discussed the concept of love bombing, noting that an abuser offers showered victims with love and gifts to get them back if they're trying to leave. These relationships start with love, Hughes said, of abusive ties, describing from the honeymoon phase after the assault episode, which includes convincing the victim with love and care. The victim may feed the abuser is the only person they can speak to about the abuse. The victim feel that the abuser is the only person they can speak to about the abuse, she said. Hughes also testified on trauma bonds. That's one for you. That's a word you gotta remember. Trauma bond, old term. Where the victim can be attached to the abusive partner and will try to chase nice moments with them in spite of the violence. When the prosecution asked why victims may reconcile with an abusive partner, Hughes said that they return for the companionship and for the good version of the partner they do love. Goes on to say, Hughes discusses memory abuse. That's a thing? Memory abuse? Hughes also explained different kinds of self-defense and coping mechanisms victims of abuse may try to protect themselves. She said victims are more likely to disclose rape by a stranger than a partner. They will usually disclose to a mother, sister, or close friend first. Hughes discussed the impact of trauma on memories and how victims' brain often assigns significance of memory details that can range from the smell of alcohol of their abuser's breath to chip paint their nose on the ceiling. Victims may also remember the core gist of what happened to them. She said, still feel their memories are fragmented as long stretches of violence and other mistreatment events are going to blend together, she said. All the routine, all this abuse is happening. Psychologists said substance can numb the pain of abuse. Victims of abuse using substances while facing violence is one common coping mechanism. That's savagery. If the person's like getting out in a very violent, abusive relationship, they return to illicit drugs to numb the pain and cloud this reality which is hanging over him like a dark cloud. Okay, it says here, victim of abuse using substances while facing violence is a one common coping mechanism, Hughes told the court. Her testimony comes after Cassie told jurors last week that she frequently used drugs to get through freak-offs, the alleged sexual performance that Combs organized for years. Substances allow us to numb our pain, Hughes said, explaining that alcohol or drugs can be used to get rid of fear and of anxieties. So basically, in terms of freak-offs, like I said before, they're 21st century orgies, plain and simple. Many victims will wait months, even years to disclose abuse, she said, explaining that they may have a fear of not being believed. Okay, that's legit. Their fear may be connected to losing friends or economic security. It could be worse if the abuser benefits from wealth and privilege, he was explaining. So basically, if this person have you hooked on their wealth and privileges, yeah, that's something to be worried about. Here we go. Hughes earning $6,000 a day for testimony talks effects of psychological abuse. Hughes explains she's testifying as a blind expert, meaning that she hasn't interviewed Combs or any of the witnesses for the case. For her work in this case generally, she's getting $600 an hour. $600 an hour? Whoa. And for a court testimony, she's earning $6,000 a day. Wow. Diddy's lawyer says psychologist is not providing opinions on Combs' case. During Hughes' cross-examination, Combs' defense lawyer clarified that she was not providing opinion on the rapper's specific case, nor she's there to provide commentary on any particular witnesses. Combs' legal team underlined the fact that this is general subject matter testimony. The defense also said that Hughes had been hired by several different prosecutors for many years to give this kind of testimony, even though none of them involved the same people or the evidence. Okay, this is interesting. Let me keep going. The jury was asked to retire to the jury room as the defense tried to introduce a new piece of evidence. A document from a training room session where Hughes was advised of female abuse survivors or how they might prepare to go to court. The session covers topics such as their personal appearance, demeanor, and court etiquette. The defense wanted to introduce a document. As they argued, Hughes has made a cottage industry of being a professional witness, but the judge said that he did not see a basis to admit the document as evidence, concluding it doesn't say anything about anything. Hughes was also a witness to Depp versus Heard trial. You remember that? Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard. Amber Heard, the turd. You heard me. It's kind of sad that premium lawyer Amber Heard we do something as despicable as that, but yep, here we are. Yeah, Depp versus Heard in Virginia, 2022, involving Johnny Depp and his ex-wife Amber Heard. The televised trial of what time out? Oh, then again, it's federal, yeah. Televised trial pitted the Pirates of the Caribbean versus the star against the Aquaman actress. Outside both raised their own alleged allegation of abuse. During the trial, Heard's team heard Hughes testify after the domestic violence expert evaluated Heard for nearly 30 hours and diagnosed her with PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, that she attributed to intimate partner violence. Okay, we're getting this favorite part here. Diddy's Miami mansion raid. Agents found 25 bottles of baby oil and 31 bottles of Astroglide. If you know, you know. During Gannon's testimony, jurors were shown photos from the 2024 raid on Combs' mansion in Miami Beach, Florida. Federal investigators found 3 cell phones hidden inside a pair of boots from the designer brand Balenciaga, or the Balenciaga. A black Gucci bag which is allegedly filled with the drugs, including Xanax, cocaine, ketamine, MDA, aka ecstasy. In the master bedroom of the home, agents said they found a wooden box with a golden plate on top that says Puffy, one of Combs' nickname, which contained MDA, psilocybin, a hallucinogenic. Whoa, he was mentioning some serious drugs here. In the mansion's guest house security room, a loaded .45 caliber handgun was found inside in a red suitcase. Drawers down the hallway contained about 25 bottles of baby oil, 31 bottles of Astroglide lubricant. Prosecutors had alleged that Combs had used the substance during his drug-fueled freak-offs at the center of his sex crimes charges. Yes, you can see why I'm a bit excited here. Lawyers spar over photo of Kim Porter, one of the women that Diddy had a long relationship with, and possibly had her taken out. Before again took the stand, lawyers on either side spar over showing photos of Combs' late partner Kim Porter as evidence. Prosecutors argued against it, saying that the relevance is extremely low, and argued the photos risk tugging at the jurors' heartstrings. Prosecutors also worried that it would confuse jurors, implying if Combs was convicted, his children would be without a parent, and Combs and Porter shared 4 children. Okay, Gannon told the court on March 24th, 2024, he's part of a team that searches Diddy's Miami mansion. Nearly 90 agents were involved in the search. That's a lot of agents. That means that it's that serious. Which happened while Combs and his family was not at home. Gannon said law enforcement found upper receivers of AR-15 weapons, well, gun magazines. So basically, he has no weapons to start a war, pretty much. Agents found sex toys, lubricant, and baby oil in the home, all parts of alleged freak-offs. Combs concluded for years Combs conducted for years, as well as illegal drugs. Oh, this is getting better and better. Almost done, believe it or not, folks. Almost done. Judge reject Combs for request subpoena for jury fine. Judge Arun Subramanian, the judge hearing Combs' federal sex crimes trial, appeared to reject a request from the rapper's lawyers to subpoena Ventura fine. It wasn't immediately clear why Combs' team made a request which the judge turned down on May 20th, but his lawyers had repeatedly tried to get her claims of physical, sexual, and emotional abuse in the relationship. Kathy's mom, Regina Ventura, said that she wanted Diddy $20,000 after alleged sex tape threat. So basically, The reason why her mom sent the money because Diddy was trying to send a sex tape out for the whole world to see, but the problem is, too late. Technically, if you look on it, you can find it somewhere in the dark web. While on the stand on May 20th, Ventura was quickly asked by prosecutors about an email her daughter mentioned in previous testimony. And mind you, his mom was on trial. His mom, Cassie's mom, took the stand, I think. In the message sent on December 23rd, 2011, Ventura confessed to her mother that Combs was threatening to release a sex tape of her on Christmas Day. Around that same time, Ventura told her mother about the alleged physical abuse he was facing from Combs. So Cassie told her mom what Diddy was doing to her, and I know her mom was not happy about it. Ventura said that she told her she needed to wire $20,000 to Combs because he was angry that he spent money on her and that she had been with another person. Although she wired the funds to Combs' company, the woman said that the money came back 4 days later. Was this a test? This is a very dumb question what Diddy's on trial. I'm not going to get into it because we already know what's in trial for, so I'm not going to read that part. Yeah, basically talk about what's racketeering. So with that, I'll explain it again. Racketeering is participating in a legal scheme under Racketeering Influence and Corruption Organization Statute, or RICO. Racketeering, Influence, and Corruption Organization. So that's a RICO Act as a way for the U.S. government to prosecute organizations that contribute to criminal activity. Using RICO law, which typically it aimed at targeted multi-person criminal organization. Prosecutors allege that Combs coerced victims, some of whom they said were sex workers, through intimidation and narcotics in part, into participating in freak-out, sometimes days-long sex performances that federal prosecutors have claimed they had video of. So you're not going to tell me such a thing happened and Diddy supposedly sold some for $500 million? Yeah, it's on the dark web. And someone making a lot of money for somebody's poor choices, and it's drug fuel. That's very scary. Sorry if it took so long, but this point was something here. And like I said, there's like probably tons of links in there before. I say click on these links. And what are your thoughts on it? What do you think? You think that George Kaplan be the one to finally put the final nail on Diddy? I don't think so. It's like one of the big nails, but it won't be the last. I have a gut feeling by the time June goes to full swing, like halfway through June, you will start to see beyond shadow of a doubt that nothing less but a full pardon may say Diddy. And I don't think that's going to happen. Now, don't get me wrong. Supposedly, the rumor had that the Chris is going to be pardoned by Trump, which I think is dumb, in my opinion. That's one of the few things I was telling Mr. President Trump that he's making a dumb mistake. But that's as far as I could go. But folks, tell me your thoughts on this situation with Diddy, and in fact, that George Kaplan, one of his top aides, is testifying against him. Until then, folks, peace.